got practice 7 through. You know, I was kind of interested to see how our guys responded after we had a pretty intense scrimmage on Saturday, put them right back in full pads on Tuesday, and was really looking to see how they reacted. It was overall, I thought, pretty positive. Definitely, what we're trying to do is really, you know, build our guys into, it's not just what we do on the field, it's what we do away from here, right? So the decisions they make and you know, the type of fueling, the type of rest and recovery, the type of hydration, the kind of things that make you build. We only got a 5-week window for the spring. In the fall, we're going to have a 15-week window, 12 games with 2 bye weeks that we have to understand. I need a guy to be what he is on the second game of the season, as well as the 10th game of the season and beyond. That's one of the hardest things to get guys to understand is it's a long season, and for you to maintain it and sustain it, you have to train your body to be that way. So we had a good workout on Tuesday. I'm going to back off a little bit of them on Thursday, and then Saturday we'll make a decision how much. It's not going to be an all-out scrimmage like last week, but it'll be somewhat of a modified scrimmage and see where they go. But really, other than that, guys have been working, competing, growing. We'll introduce more third down stuff tomorrow, so it'll be a little bit more third down specific and see where that goes.
All right, Bob, we'll go ahead and start with you, let you lead off, and then we'll just go down the list. Thanks. Go ahead, Bob.
Coach, Barry Alvarez made it official. He's going to be moving on, retiring. Just give me the first thoughts on when you heard that, and tell me about you guys' relationship over the years.
Yeah, I'd heard that for quite a while. Yeah, Coach and I, you know, sometimes men, when I departed Wisconsin, we had a super close relationship that he was by far the most influential man in my life, other than my own father. He and I were very, very close and still are to this day. When I made the decision to leave, we hugged and cried in a New York hotel room in the Waldorf Astoria, about the size of this table I'm sitting at. It was a very emotional moment. Obviously hadn't planned on doing that, didn't expect to do it, but just felt it was the right thing at the right time. And we said goodbye, but then the way things kind of played out, we didn't talk for a little bit, but I would say about my second year at Arkansas, after we had beat LSU and Ole Miss back-to-back, never been done before. We shut out 2 ranked opponents by a team that wasn't ranked, that had never been done in college football history. I got a note from him that kind of opened the door, and later that year we met. And from that point forward, it's been back to normal. Probably have become really close the last 2 years again. You know, I know Josh talked with him during this hiring process. You know, he's a man that in my life personally has been very, very influential. But I would tell you, the players that he coached, the coaches that worked for him, the people that touched that program, from Matt LePay to you know, all the coaches that went through there, they know what he built and what he created, and it didn't happen by chance. He had a great plan, followed it up with great people, then had a tremendous effect as an athletic director. I could tell you a million different stories, but probably my favorite one was when there's two good ones. I'll give you the first one, was when he told me that I was going to be the head coach. We're standing in the middle of a parking lot after a TV show. That we went on a Sunday morning after we got done playing our last conference game, our last regular season game of the year. We're getting ready for the bowl game, and shared some things with me that I got caught off guard. And I'm like standing in the middle of this parking lot, and I'm trying to talk him out of, like, what are you talking about? You want to still be the head coach? And then I talked about halfway through the conversation, why am I trying to talk this guy to making me the next head coach? I want to take this job right now. So it's kind of one of those moments that only he and I shared, and one of those that means everything to me. Wish him the best of luck in retirement, and a really good man for college football, not just University of Wisconsin. He's a great person for college football in general.
Coach, I assume he was all on your side for coming here, right? I assume he was full support for you. So what did that mean to you, that he wanted you to be basically competed against his school?
You know, I know it's an interesting point, Bob. I don't think it was so much that. It was just, you know, a good coach that was going to have a good opportunity. You know, I think that part was something I knew I was going to have to navigate as we go. But I knew he is a good friend. I knew he knew what I was capable of coaching and what I've been able to do as a head football coach. And that probably was something that meant more to me than anything. But I really don't know what was said or done. It was just that was just part of the fact. So we all knew it was going to be part of it, especially in this division. But I think that from the outside world, Bob, is probably a bigger deal than most people than others. Right. You know, Paul Chris is one of my best friends in life. He's the head coach there. We compete each other on a daily basis in recruiting, and especially one game a year during the fall. But it's really not a big deal to people that respect one another. It's a big deal to the outside world looking in, but not really to the people that are involved.
Thanks, Coach. Great stuff.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, we saw the video from yesterday of the scholarship or the 4 walk-ons earning scholarships. What are moments like that for you? Is that one of your favorite moments since becoming head coach here?
Yeah, it's absolutely probably, everybody loves game day and everybody loves the thrill of victory, but to award non-scholarship players scholarships, people that have earned it and worked for it. I remember being a non-scholarship player getting called into Hayden Fry's office and him telling me I was put on scholarship. It was a day I'll never forget. The call to my parents, the call to my family and loved ones, and the reaction of my teammates. It was me one-on-one with Coach Fry. And, as I became a head coach, I always knew that moment was special. So I initially started doing them one-on-one in my office. I remember the reaction out of Ricky Wagner, who was later went on to become one of the highest paid linemen in the NFL. Brady Ewing, who was a fullback that got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. Jared Abadaris was a guy that played for the Green Bay Packers a number of NFL years. Chris Maragos went on to become a team captain in the NFL. I know all these stories of all these different walk-ons that become scholarship players, but I would say probably my last couple of years at Wisco and a couple at Arkansas, we started doing them in public environments to kind of celebrate with the team. And why was I being selfish, just letting it be between me and the player? So I knew where I wanted to go with this. Do a lot of what we call RTD drills, run tackle drills. And I had the idea of bringing those 4 guys up. I didn't think anybody really caught on to what was going on. I don't think they did for sure. I kind of caught them off guard, and I just brought them up, told them we were going to do a new RTD drill. Usually I give it a name. Like tomorrow we're working a drill called circle chase. We do 2-man strip. We do sideline skinny, open field skinny. I said the name of this drill is scholarship. And then they saw the reaction. I just got the hell out of the way. I had planned on hugging them all, but they came out of their seats pretty quick. So I just kind of got out of the way and saw the reaction. And I actually had to go to a recruiting Zoom. So I didn't get him for about 20 minutes later, but then I all met with them, all 4 of those guys, and got to see their reactions. Pretty special.
And then want to shift over to the running back position. We heard from Corey Patterson, a couple of the running backs earlier this week. What have you liked from what you've seen from just the depth at that position and kind of having a few good options for Tony Peterson's offense?
I am very excited. Excited for Coach Patterson, a guy that I've been very impressed with since I've gotten here. I've always, had a lot of pride in that running back coach position. I believe the last 4 of my last 5 guys that were my running coaches all coach in the NFL now. The NFL was taking all of our players, but they took every one of my running back coaches 4 in a row. So, I told CP what the standard was and where it's at, and he's been pursuing that angle ever since. He's doing a great job with them. I think the players themselves, between the Chase brothers, Chase Brown and Chase Hayden, Reggie and then Jakari probably had the most productive day on Saturday in the scrimmage, and then Boback, Matt is a nice addition as well. So got a lot of different players, a lot of different skill sets, but they all kind of learning how we do things right now. And I think good teams do 3 things, right? They run the football, they stop the run, and they cover kicks. Obviously, running the football falls right into their hands, and I think that we'll continue to build this thing. Everybody's got to know what they got to do better. And the people that are blocking for them, the quarterbacks that are handing the ball, and the wide receivers that are doing what they do to affect the game. So hopefully they'll all get better as we go.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Brandon Marcello here. I was working on this story about, obviously, the COVID-19 vaccines were starting to get kind of more of a handle on. It's becoming more widely available. And there's a lot of questions out there on conference levels and of course, on school levels about how we go about it with football players and football teams and athletics in general. questions about whether you should mandate it on a university level or even a football team level, or you just educate your players and let them make the decision. Obviously, there's pros and cons to both sides. Pros, of course, being, maybe not have to go through so many protocols and contact tracing during the season, maybe not have to have so many players have to sit out. But anyway, long story short, I was wondering kind of where do you think we should go with this? How are you handling it within your program? And where do you think things will be once we, say get to August?
Brandon, great question. It's, obviously one of these COVID issues that nobody's really, had to experience or deal with until the one we're in right now. So I've had it much the same way when the university approached us with the opportunity to get vaccinated. It wasn't mandatory, but the opportunity was there if we wanted it. Everybody had their own decisions to make. On my staff, I had several coaches that took it and several that didn't. It's just a personal choice. I really believe there's certain things in life that you have to make a decision on your own and what you believe in. So I just approached it the same way with our players when it became word that they would be able to have the vaccine. It was going to be their choice. Try to give them as much information as we can and really rely on the medical people to give them anything more than that. Hey, coach, believe me, I may think I'm pretty smart at times, but I don't have a PhD in medicine, I promise you. So I just rely on what I've been told and make it work from there.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Bret, I wanted to follow up on the running backs. I mean, Tony has a pretty long history of 3-4 running back rotations in there. You've obviously done that at stops. Is this room, I mean, you named all 4 guys. Is this room equipped? I mean, do you have a pretty good 3 or 4 back stable, and what makes them different or good to complement each other?
Joey, I actually named 5, but yes, the 4 scholarship players, I think they all do have unique skill sets. Jakari is, his own unique skill set. I would say Chase, everybody thinks I talk about the Brown brothers. I call them the Chase brothers. Chase Brown, Chase Hayden kind of have similar body types, prototypes, and really, similar kind of styles. Chase Hayden is obviously the only player in the program that's ever been coached by me prior to me coming here. So he's got a little bit of a background in that regard, but I just think they all blend very, very well. I would say Reggie, I'd heard about Reggie and seen his film, but to see him live and in person, he's just a tremendous talent. Love his personality, demeanor. Got a little smile to him that I think he enjoys the physicality of it. He's got certain skill sets that play to his benefits. So those 4 guys have all got unique skills. As we grow this thing a little bit more, we're getting into a little more third down now, so some guys normally can do that from a reception standpoint, but can't use protection. So we got to kind of find out their skill set. But I think anytime you can have 3, stable guys in the fall, and if a 4th can be that way, it's a very positive thing, because those should be special teams players for you as well.
And Chase Brown, I mean, he said he added 15 pounds. I mean, he's on a vegan diet. I think that was maybe a conversation he said that you guys had when you first met. What do you kind of make of him? And we saw him play pretty well last year, but what have your impressions been of him and how he's reshaped his body?
Well, he's a guy that takes high accountability factor. When it comes to our nutrition and recovery, he's a guy that's at the top of the list. Him and Sydney both. Mom just did a tremendous job of raising these young men, and they take advantage of everything that's thrown at him. He's a chiseled, he's thick. He did a jump cut, literally a jump cut the other day that was pretty impressive to witness. So he's got a lot of the skill sets. I think he realizes what we like to do and how we like to do it, the play action game off of it, and then the more ability that he has to build a relationship with the O linemen and the guys that are blocking will make it even better. So I really like where he's at, but I think we're just scratching the surface of what it could be.
Thank you, Bret.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, good afternoon. You've hired Nate McNeil, a Chicago guy, Terry Hawthorne, a Metro East guy, and now Pat Ryan, a Central Illinois guy through and through. So clearly you're making the in-state a priority here, but I'll just ask simply, why is this so important? Like obviously you want to recruit talent from everywhere, but why is recruiting Illinois so important for Illinois?
Well, I said it early on. I think I said in my opening presser, I've said a couple, for us to represent the state of Illinois, we got to represent what Illinois is. And I thought it was very important for me to, in my initial 10 hires, to hire coaches that could recruit this state. Obviously, Terrence Jamison, Kevin Kane, and Bart Miller will recruit that Chicagoland area, but I wanted to divide the rest of the state up, and I really put a huge emphasis on downstate, right, on recruiting here in the central Illinois area, down to the south and to the west and to the east. Chicago is always going to get recruited, but I think the central Illinois downstate kids represent and embody what we are. And Coach Ryan, being from Metamora, checks the box, but also he just stood out amongst. I had a lot of people apply for that job, former alumni, former players, guys that have been high school coaches in the area, but it's just the charisma and the attitude that Coach brought. Obviously, Terry speaks for itself as a former player, to be able to check the box and have him come back in, and he just really dynamic, big personality. So I think those three guys in a small microcosm represent the state of Illinois, and we want to represent the state of Illinois. I've never seen anything great that didn't represent the people of where they're from. You have everybody, every walk of life in this state. You got the Chicagoland people, you got the downstate, you got the farmers, you got the blue collar, you got the people that are working the 9-to-5 jobs, putting in a hard day's work, doing what they need to do. So we try to kind of just represent everything in what we're doing here, and that's really been the driving force. But also those support staff you mentioned, between Nate, Coach Ryan, and Terry, they work hand in hand with Pat Hamilton and with Jay Kaiser, my coaches. We put together a recruiting personnel department that I think is pretty special, and they've just been the keys in the cog that have got us to that point.
And what will it mean? You guys have scheduled official visits. What will it mean to get those going if you're able to in June? And what do you hope to get out of those weekends?
Well, I think we were the first, school in Division I football to send out invites, and we did that because we wanted to be ahead of the curve. We got a big weekend in theory planned that first weekend in June. I'm just excited to get guys on campus, get around them, be around them. You can learn a lot about them through Zoom, but there's nothing that can put a price tag on being able to sit in front of someone, show them the Smith Center, meet our coaches. There's a million beautiful places. I always go back, here's the church, here's the steeple, open the doors, and here's the people. You gotta understand there's a million churches, a million steeples, but it's the people inside that make the church. And that's what we do here as our family, right? We believe strongly in family. It's not about the people. It's not the building. It's beautiful. I love it here, but it's about the people in the building that make it special. And that's what we want to showcase.
Thanks, Bret.
Thank you.
Coach, I want to go back to Barry Alvarez for a second. Obviously, there have been a lot of retrospectives on his career the last few days. There's a lot of similarities between where Wisconsin was when he took over after 3 struggling decades and where you're taking over this program. What can you draw from what you learned from him as you attempt this rebuild?
A lot. I've been very fortunate in my career. I've said it. I know Josh made the comment in my presser that, one of the things that he found intriguing to me was the places that I had been places that had established, long-term success. Iowa with Hayden Fry and the continuation through now to Kirk, to, Kansas State with Bill Snyder, and then the last one, Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin, and actually Coach Belichick in the NFL level. But I distinctly remember a couple of things about when I first got around Coach, and Coach Alvarez at Wisconsin, and we were talking about, style of play, offensive line, and all that kind of stuff. And he said, you gotta play to the area, that you come from and the people that are around you. He goes, what do you think when you go to the grocery store? He goes, you go to the produce aisle and you see some 6'5" guy stacking groceries, and there's a lot of them, right? If you see them at the grocery store, that means they're everywhere. And that's kind of what jumps out to you. I can't tell you how many times people come in on an official visit and they're like, man, there's big people everywhere. And the same thing now comes to me when I'm here at Illinois. That's what I'm kind of talking about in the central part of the state here, especially. There's a lot of good players around us. We got to get them to come here and be Illinois players, right? They can go to a lot of different schools in the Big Ten or across the country, but they're raised here in Illinois. They understand what this means. The thing that I have to overcome, which I also drew from Coach, when he took over the program at Wisconsin, the players that he was recruiting had never known Wisconsin to have success, right? Before he came there, those kids had never grown up with Wisconsin having success. And I'm kind of challenged with that same situation, to have 4 winning seasons since 2001, right? To have that be our last Big Ten championship. The kids that we're recruiting right now out of high school, they were born in 2003 and 2004. There's not been a lot of great seasons in their lifetime that they can remember and fall back on 2 of the winning seasons were 7-6. So like, we have to establish what we're going to change, how we're going to change it, and how they can be a part of it. And that's a big part of what we're doing right now. And there's a lot of social media driven things. There's a lot of things that we're building within our culture, but also things that we're doing now in preparation to June to let them know what we're going to be able to accomplish, because you have to be able to get them to buy what we're going to become. I know where we're going to go. I know where we're going to end up, but we got to be able to, convince an 18-year-old player that what he hasn't seen in his lifetime can come true.
And what have you noticed in your, 3.5 months or so recruiting to Illinois that's, like what Coach Alvarez says is unique to Illinois? What makes the type of person? Go ahead.
Robert, we gathered their attention. I think we came out strong. We've never let up. We've applied it every day. I literally, I recruit every player that we're recruiting, but I would say that the emphasis on our Illinois players and the drive to that with not only my players, but my coach, these guys have to be the foundation of what we're built on, right? I go back to when you build a house, right? You don't start off on the second level in the master suite or the kitchen. You start out in the foundation. You build a house with the foundation that the house is going to be built upon. And that's what we've got going on right now. I've tried to sell those guys on the core of what we're going to be here at the University of Illinois. It has to be them. If I try to do it from anything else, it's probably not going to be on solid ground. So, there's a huge driving force behind our recruiting efforts, who we're recruiting, why we're recruiting them, and where we hope we can go.
Thanks.
Hey, Bret, I wanted to double back on Pat Ryan. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you go into a little more detail about why he was the guy for this position and how you came to hear about him and learn about him?
Colin, great question. Pat jumped out to me as soon as I got a chance to be around him. I had been through Metamora as an assistant coach at the University of Iowa. I'd seen the success. I'm not from that exact area, but we knew Metamora and what it stood for. I always had kind of followed their success, and obviously the record that he established is second to none in really Illinois State high school history. But also, you take his numbers and put them in any state, it's going to jump out to you pretty good. And then in this theory, like they had a high school relations director, but the two areas that I heard about when I came here was developing better relationships with our alumni and developing better relationships in the Illinois high school system. And I began to, research different people and different things. And then Coach Ryan's name came up, had a couple conversations with him, brought him to campus, and he just jumped out to everyone in his building. And he's got kind of this suave, cool man approach to him that he relates very well with high school players, high school coaches, college coaches. I can't wait to learn from him. The success he was able to sustain at Metamora, from being a player to an assistant coach to a head coach, and year after year have that. Like, it's just been awesome to pour into his knowledge. I go back to, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a high school program, really from all over the country, and you're going to know in the first 15 minutes in that building what kind of coach and what kind of program they have. And that's the way he is. It's just, it doesn't happen by chance. It's very well thought out, very detailed. I'm glad we were able to get him to do this, because I think it's something that can reward the Illini football program for a long time. He's a great ambassador. I love the fact that, I'm an oldie now, right? I came in, I was 35, 36 years old as a head coach. I was a new guy in the building, and now I come in and to have another experienced coach. But the other day when we went to release his press release, I said, hey, I'm good to go with this. Bret sent it over. I checked it, rechecked it. Powers that be said we could send it out. I said, if coach is ready to send it out, I am. And the response I got back was we could do it as soon as he told his mother. So I thought that was a very intriguing comment for someone who I know is older than me, that he didn't want to do it until he checked with his mother. That's the kind of human being that we're getting, that I think is a great asset to our program.
Thanks, Bret.
Thank you.
Bret, I just had a quick question on recruiting. There's so much specialization in sports among teenagers. And I just wanted to ask you, you have so many guys on this roster, so many of the guys that you just gave a scholarship to who were multi-sport athletes in high school. I wanted to ask you what goes into the conversation when you look at a kid about, okay, yeah, he plays this, and this in high school. What are the benefits of being able to research a kid and know that he does this, and this in high school from a sports standpoint, and he just wasn't focused on football his entire career?
You know, man, I think you can't ever paint one guy with the same brush, right? But I would say in general, the more sports a person plays, I think it's a good thing. I think it shows competition. You know, every sport is a little bit different. You know, like I do love defensive players who are former wrestlers, just because they usually know how to be combative with their hands and understand balance and things a little bit better. I love the sport of wrestling because it's just you and another man out on the mat competing. You can't hide behind anybody else. There's nothing else that you can do. You just have to compete and may the best man win. So I love that element of it. But I do love watching basketball games and certain players, you know, show athleticism and the ability to kind of be fluid and take control. Love to watch a point guard that you'd like to have authority, take control of the game. You like to see a big man take the ball down low and do what he does, or push people around defensively. So I love track numbers. I love track throws. We got a couple offensive linemen recruiting right now that I literally talk to them every week about their shot put throw or their disc throw, just because usually it's a good indicator of explosiveness. So I really want them all. Alex Collins, who's now back in the NFL, was one of my, it was a three-year 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC, a really productive back. He was a lacrosse player in high school. So recruited volleyball players, lacrosse players, chess players, wrestlers, basketball players. It doesn't matter if they're playing other sports. I think it's a good thing.